Hi there, it's Meryl Lenneberger from Microschool Builders, and we have created this new guide to educational options for parents, teachers, and concerned citizens to help you better understand the terms that are being used and what kinds of options are available for families in the face of the pandemic and beyond. So first up, you've probably been hearing about something called remote learning. This is something that our school districts, both public and private, have done to help students learn while at home. It usually involves some sort of online learning management system, potentially some kind of a remote video call with your child's teacher, but more often than not, remote learning is just a way to bring the content from your traditional classroom to your child while they are at home. This fall, many school districts are going to be offering remote learning, either online or paper-based. Um, the options are either going to be full-time this way, part-time this way, or a hybrid mix of some remote learning and some face-to-face learning. When you hear remote learning, just know that the primary goal is to have your child be at home where they're safer, uh, lower exposure to the virus, and able to still receive supports to direct your child's education and learning processes. As far as costs related to this, if you're getting remote learning services from your school district, they should be free. There are many public online charter schools out there that you can enroll your child in at no cost to you to provide a full-time remote learning experience. And many of our private and micro schools are offering remote learning options in addition to their face-to-face services. Another term that you've probably heard is homeschooling. And there has been some confusion around this term because what many parents have been forced to do with their children at home to support or provide instruction is not typically the classic definition of homeschool. So homeschooling tends to be uh, an option when families choose to remove their child from the formal school, whether they sign them out or send a letter of intent to do that, depending on the state that they live in, to the school district. Homeschooling ranges from very traditional curricular kinds of activities to parents who choose to take their kids out on the road. That's where the term road schooling comes from. And to have the travel be part of the experience to many families actually travel the world and have the world become their child's classroom. Um, this is the traditional definition of homeschooling, not the kind of schooling from home that so many parents have been asked to do during the pandemic. But what's typical of homeschooling is that students are learning primarily from things that they're interested in, maybe supported with curricular materials, and they can do these kinds of learning experiences alone or as part of a homeschool cooperative. Homeschooling is led by the child's parent generally. Sometimes it can be a tutor if that's legally available in a state, and the cost here varies. It can be as close to free as possible, although homeschooling requires one of the parents in the family to give up other work sometimes in exchange for becoming the child's instructor. So it's not technically free, but it can range to higher price depending on whether or not you're participating in a co-op with more services or purchasing curriculum either online or paper-based that you use at home. And like I said, homeschooling is different from schooling at home, which is just replicating what happens in the traditional classroom setting at home. Homeschooling tends to be quite a different experience, and it really ranges from family to family. Another term that you've probably been hearing are learning pods or pandemic pods, and these are a direct response to the COVID-19 pandemic. This is an attempt by parents to take more responsibility for their child's learning, especially this coming fall. Uh, it is a way in which parents are grouping together small groups of kids to be socially isolated as a pod so that the children are able to have friendships, community, support, collaboration with other kids. These families who are choosing to create learning or pandemic pods can be using materials that are provided by the school or school district, or they may be choosing to use other materials. In some cases, there is a rotational process where each parent takes up the responsibility for the instruction each day. In some cases, families are choosing to hire a teacher to support pandemic pod learning. So in this case, the cost will really vary. It's lower cost, obviously, if parents are sharing the instructional or childcare responsibilities, and more expensive if families are hiring a teacher. And this pod learning, it's not isolated to the pandemic, but it is certainly an incredibly popular and powerful alternative during the pandemic. And the final term that we would like to share with you, or that I'd like to share with you today, is the term microschool. It's something that we at Microschool Builders have been working to support and promote over the last few years. It's not just a pandemic response, but micro schools are students working together in a multi-age community of learners with a strong focus on self-directed, hands-on, project-based, and inquiry learning. Um, we at Microschool Builders help teachers and parents to open and run legally small schools within their community. And we do that by having them look at the school code to determine how best to do that. The cost of attending a micro school or to open a micro school really depends on the focus, the vision and mission, and the expertise of the owner. They can range anywhere from just a few $1,000s a year up to prices that are competitive with more common or more traditional private schools. What microschools really, though, are doing is providing a longer-term demonstration of student-centered learning. So the kinds of experiences that kids have in microschools are different from what typically happens in a public or private school because of the smaller class size. Each child is getting much more individualized attention. Well, there you have it. Today's families have many, many more choices available to them. If you would like more information, we welcome you to join our free Facebook groups. You can find those by looking for the @Microschool Builders hashtag when you're in Facebook, or you can visit our website at www.microschoolbuilders.com. Thanks so much for listening.